Gonna try, gonna try, gonna try. Work till I die, till I die, till I die. I'm gonna fail and get up, cause I'm not giving up on my dream.
Hi my lovely Frosty fam, it's me, Karen Frost here at Nail Decadence. Got an acrylic video to share with you. This is a really extra long set of nails and I've chosen the colour scheme of gold and green, but they're more of a sort of khaki green. Must say I'm not a huge fan of green, but I mixed these two greens and I really like them. They're sort of foresty green and a khaki green. It's really nice. This gel paint, I'm not overly keen on it, to be honest. It's just a cheap one, so I suppose you get what you pay for. It's not the best, can't really recommend that. It did the job though, so you know, whatever. It's just not the best to draw with. It's just not as smooth as some of the others that I've tried from different brands, like the SPD London ones or the Madame Glam ones. Anyway, and I've got those foils. Those foils are really pretty. There is a link to my Amazon store. I've got loads of bits and bobs in there if anyone needs any nail items, and I'm also using my wonderful Handolly. And if you're interested in getting yourself a realistic silicone practice hand so that you may practice your nail art and become an expert, as it were, better and better the more practice you do, then check out Handolly, www.handolly.co.uk, and I have a new discount code which is FROST10, so feel free to use that. It is an affiliate code, but it's a product that I really believe in. I'd never recommend something I don't believe in and don't use on a regular basis and absolutely love. Anywho, let's get into what we're doing on this set of nails. On the ring finger, I'm doing a reverse French. So as you saw, that first bead that I applied, I do the very end of that smile line, get that nice and neat with my brush as best I can. Then I'll place the second bead behind that, and then the third bead being the cuticle bead and any other beads that I need to add to make sure that cuticle area is nice and opaque but isn't too thick and bulky. And then I will cap the whole lot in one go. There we go. So I'm going to just use my clear acrylic to cap that and build my apex and everything. I actually didn't put enough down when I built the nail, so I will actually have to go back and fill that area in a little bit more to add a bit of a higher apex. But yeah, just pay attention when you're applying your acrylic. I was clearly not paying attention and that was quite a flat apex area, so yeah. Anyway, so I'll let that set up because I will be filing that to get it nice and sharp. On to the middle finger, I'm using the darkest of the greens and I'm going to do an ombre with that. So as you can see, I'm applying it at the tip first because I want the darkest colour at the very free edge. I'm painting it on basically thin as possible because we're going to be adding the foil, the gold foil, so that needs encapsulating. So you want to make sure that this layer is nice and thin so that you've got a good margin to add your clear, with knowing that you're not going to then file into any of the foil that you encapsulate in the clear. So the thinner you can get this, the better. And also it just makes your ombre go along a lot smoother if you're just using smaller beads. I know a lot of nail techs can do it their ombres in two beads, like one bead in one colour and one bead in the other colour, and then ombre it perfectly. I personally can't get that right that way, so I go in with smaller, wetter beads and I just work a little bit harder for my ombres, but that's how it works for me. It may work differently for you. You may need to use much less beads, but for me, I will take as many beads as I need to get it as perfect as I can, because I'm very fussy about my ombres. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll know I'm very fussy with my ombre, so I always go in with tiny beads to get that blend as seamless as possible. So then I will make sure I've got my cuticle area nice and neat, so I will tap in at that cuticle area, making sure I'm as close to that epinicium as I can get, but not touching. If you've got any acrylic on the skin, do make sure to nudge it off the skin. Don't let it sit there and dry, because that's the easiest way for you to get lifting, and we don't want lifting because that leads to all sorts of problems like greenies and whatnot. Just avoid it. So get it off the skin, always get it off the skin. So now I'm going to do a sort of swooshy pattern with the gold leaf, just going from cuticle to free edge, my little swoosh pattern. This is not a really complicated set, although it does have the French and the ombre, and you know, it's a triple ombre, and there's a marble coming as well. I don't think it's that complicated, but that's me. That may not be you. This may be a overly complicated set to you, but don't be overwhelmed. Just do each nail and you'll get there. Just don't worry about it. Just go for it is what I'm saying. Go for it. You won't know if you can do something unless you try. So just try. Give it a go. There's no harm in trying. Practice is how you get better. And with nails, that is essential. Without the practice, you won't get better. It's as simple as that. If you want to improve, you've got to put in the work. It really is. People think nails are easy. They're not. It's a skill, and there are techniques that you have to learn, and you have to learn how to do them good before you can improve on your speed. So take your time. Take as many beads as it takes. You're not in a race. Just get good before you can get fast is all I'm saying. Anywho, so on this little finger I'm doing an ombre of the two greens. Again, I'm keeping the darker green at the free edge, and then I'm ombreing the lighter green over that. So that's going from the cuticle to the middle of the nail, ombreing into the darker colour, which then leads to the very free edge. Again, I'm keeping this as thin as I possibly can whilst still getting the colour payoff and getting opaque coverage. We don't want any any patchiness of colour. We want that colour to be solid and nice. So yeah, and then I'm also adding some of the gold leaf, because you know me, more is more. I never just do a little bit. Look, I'm just going in with it. I was planning on just putting a few pieces on, and then I got carried away as usual. You know what I'm like. Once I start, I just can't help myself. So anyway, I'll let that set up. The gold leaf will stick to the acrylic as it's hardening. It's not a problem. You don't need to add any clear to attach the gold leaf. It pretty much sticks to anything. So now we are doing the marble on the index finger, and as you can see, I'm using very tiny beads of the white, the two greens, and I'm also using some clear to marble. Essentially all I'm doing is adding very wet tiny beads of different colours, and I'm mixing it up as to which colour I place on top of which colour, and just swirling it as I go to fill up that nail. And I will be ombreing over the top of it, so that's why I'm only going a third up on the nail. Once I'm happy with my marble and I've swiped the sides and tried to keep the shape as best I can, I'll also add in some of the gold leaf so that it ties in with the rest of the set. And again, I'm not using anything to attach to these. I'm just picking it up with my damp brush and placing it onto the acrylic, because the acrylic is still wet. It hasn't set yet, so it will hold them in place, not a problem. And gold leaf is pretty good at sticking to things, especially fingers when you don't want it to stick to them. So now I will ombre over with the cover pink. Again, I'm using smaller, wetter beads to get that ombre going, and then as you can see, I've added a bead behind it, and I drained that bead because I want that more opaque behind it to hide and mask the line, because what I'm trying to do is make sure that there isn't a harsh line. You can't see where that marble really ends. That's what you're going for. Then behind that I will add my cuticle bead. I'll place it by the cuticle area and then gently tap it in right by close to the cuticle, but not touching. And as you saw there, where I got a little bit too close to the skin, I used my brush to just edge that acrylic away. All you need is like a millimetre away from the epinicium so that your file can fit into it. And I'll always like to have a little bit of space to tuck my clear acrylic behind the colour as well. So now I'm going to cap the nail. I started in the middle, for whatever reason, that's what I fancied doing, so that's what I've done. I want to make sure that I'm encapsulating it thick enough that I'm not going to file into the marble and the gold leaf. This is why it's so important to keep those marble beads very, very small and not bulk out the nail, because if you add your marble really thick in very thick layers, you won't have enough of a margin to add your clear acrylic and not file into the marble itself or the gold leaf or whatever, glitter, whatever you put in when you encapsulate it. When you're encapsulating, you need that margin so that you know you're safe to file without ruining your design. So that's why we keep those very first layers very thin. And whilst I'm adding my clear acrylic, I'm adding my structure. So I'm putting my apex in the back third, giving that nail the strength it needs. These are very, very, very long nails, so they do need a decent apex in them to keep them strong and stop them from breaking. However, your apex doesn't need to be huge, and your nail doesn't need to be overly thick either. We're still going with credit card thickness at the free edge. Then where you've got your apex in the back third and your stress area, it doesn't need to be a mountain. It's really hard to describe in words how to do your apex, but you can see what I'm doing. You need to really to see the side profile. When I stop and look at the nails, I will make sure that they all have a similar thickness and a similar apex. I did notice that where I'd done the marble, that nail actually was a little bit wider than the other nails. I should have really filed it just a little bit more, but that's just me being extra fussy looking back. At the time, I didn't really notice that it needed to be done any further. I think I was just fed up and had enough. It takes a long time to do a long set. That's why I'm not doing as many long extra long nails as I was doing before. They take so much longer than an average set of nails because they need so much more acrylic and so much more filing. It is definitely time consuming to do a super long set than it is for me to do a standard length set. So I do have some more extra long ones planned, but yeah, you won't see as many of them because it is hard on my joints and my muscles to do the super long sets. But I do enjoy doing them, don't get me wrong. I'm really happy when I've got the finished set, but when I'm doing the filing, it's kind of like, oh, am I done yet? Are we finished yet? Please let me be finished. That bead that I added there, the cuticle area, was way too dry and it's set up like lightning on me, so I didn't get to move it down the nail as much as I had wanted to. So that apex is a little bit thick, but we can sort that out with a file. It's not the end of the world. These things happen, and yeah, you've just got to get on with it. Don't panic. That's the worst thing you can do, is panic. Don't panic, just go with the flow, take it as it comes and just get on with it. It will be fine. And then as I started adding more acrylic, I was like, actually that apex won't need that much more filing than I thought. So yeah, that's why I say don't panic. You think something's going to go wrong, just go with the flow. It will be all right in the end. You can always sort everything out in filing. Don't rely on that. Try and do as much as you can with your brush because you want to make your filing as easy as possible. You don't want to give yourself more work, but yeah. So anywho, we're filing that smile line now because it's set up enough for me to be able to do so. I'm going to get that nice and sharp. When you do a smile line, you want it to be a nice, clean, sharp line. When you're filing into it, don't push down on the nail itself. Push against that wall. That's where your pressure needs to be, not down on the nail itself, because otherwise you will file into the nail itself, and that's what you don't want, especially if you're doing it on a client. It's not so bad if you're doing it on a practice hand, but you want to get into the routine of doing it on a real person. So treat your practice hands as a real person who has real nails and that you do not want to damage. that way you don't get into bad habits. So that's why I'm always as careful with Handolly as I would be on a normal person. Try and keep the acrylic off the skin as much as possible. Don't swipe a monomer filled brush all over the fingers and the skin. Monomer is not meant for skin, acrylic is not meant for skins. These are chemical irritants, and you can over time end up with contact dermatitis and an allergy to the products, which you don't want, because then you won't be able to wear nail stuff anymore, and you don't want to inflict that on your clients either. So do pay attention and keep the acrylic and monomer off the skin as much as possible. And if you look at the fingers, you'll see they're all dry. I haven't got any monomer anywhere on the skin, and that's what you want. Obviously there are times when you can't help it and monomer does come in contact with the skin. Just do your best to avoid it as much as possible, but you know, if it happens now again, it happens now again, but don't make it a regular habit. Make it a regular habit of not getting it on the skin, and you'll get much better at achieving that. Anyway, so now I have applied the green all around that smile line. I'm not bothered if it gets around on top of the smile line at all over the cover pink, because I'm going to file that smile line in to get that nice crisp line. And it's at this point that I'm noticing I haven't given myself enough clear acrylic as a margin to file my smile line and still have my apex there. But like I said, not the end of the world. It just means I have to go back in with my clear acrylic after I have filed in the smile line. So yeah, it is what it is. But I haven't built the nail with the green. I always like to cap my coloured powders. I like to use my clear for my strength. I don't like to build the nail with the coloured powders. One, you don't know the strength of them, especially as I've mixed them myself. I wouldn't say they were strong enough to withstand and be able to build a nail with, but also they last longer, quite frankly, so you're saving yourself a few pennies if you are capping in clear, because it's the cheapest acrylic. So save your colours by just using them as colours and painting them on, then using your clear acrylic to build your nail. I like the clear effect as well. I like that it just gives this glass layer over the top of the colour, and I just think it looks beautiful that way. But there are some colours that are strength powders from different companies, and if you want to build your nail with that, you're most welcome to. It is a lot down to personal choice, and my personal choice is to always encapsulate everything. It's just the way I personally work. So yeah, I'm just going to make sure this nail is properly structured, and I've got enough clear acrylic around that free edge and encapsulated, and enough margin to file into on that free edge. And I'll just check it from the side and just have a look at it. I've waited for that to set up, and now I'm going to file in that smile line. So I use my e-file. I'm just using a fine carbide 5-in-1 bit to do this. Doesn't really matter which e-file bit you use, to be perfectly honest, because you are just revealing that smile line. So that's the only area I'm filing, is the smile line. And you can see just from the side there that my apex is a little bit low compared to the other nails, and that's why I will have to go in with the clear acrylic again and build my apex back up. This is the only filing I've left in the video this time. There's no filing because these nails are so super long. I didn't want to be restricted in my movements. I wanted to be able to file these in peace and quiet without having to worry about my camera angles and stuff. So I did file this off camera. Sorry, my Frosty filing freaks. This is the only filing you're going to get, darlings. I'm really sorry. They'll be filing in the next video. So yeah, filed in my smile line, revealed it nice and crisp. So now I'll add that last bead by that cuticle area in that back third. Make sure my apex is there. Take a look at it. See if any areas are low, add any more acrylic where it's needed. Then I'll let it set up and then file all of the nails, shape and file them all off camera. So yes, now it's time to top it off and keep it tough. But don't worry, we are not at the end of the video yet, because I've got some 3D flower work to do and a little bit of hand-drawn art that I actually wasn't planning on doing. It was an afterthought. So yes, top coat. Oh, look at that. Isn't that lovely? Well, I think it is. Let me know what you think. I really liked this set. My daughter isn't really into busy nails. She likes them very, very simple. She's really the opposite to me in every way when it comes to nails. I'm over the top and she keeps it very, very plain and simple. Even she really liked this set, so I was well chuffed. It's not often that I'm really, really, really proud of a set, but this set I was really proud of. I really liked it, so I hope you guys like this set too. Oh, look at that. So we'll cure that for 60 seconds in the lamp, and now I'm going to do my 3D work. So I'm double dipping my beads into the green and the white and using my 3D brush to flatten out those petals into the shape that I was desiring. Now, I made this up as I went along. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to have some 3D work on it. So yeah, I just went with the flow. I didn't have an exact plan in mind. Yeah, just went with the flow. Because I use a high-speed monomer, I'm not having to wait too long for the bead to set up before I can press into it. I do get a little bit impatient and start pressing a bit too soon, but yeah, that's just me. If you have a bit more patience, just let the bead settle a little bit before you start pressing it. But me, I'm just, yeah, zero patience. So again, double dip the bead. So what I'm doing is I'm dipping into the green first, and then I'm dipping into the white. Place the bead on the nail where you want it to go, and then I'm sort of patting it out and pressing it out with the tip of the brush in the middle of the nail, then using the body of the brush to pat that petal out nice and flat, but not too flat, because you want it to be a bit raised. That's the whole point of 3D. So you see, I've got the tip of the brush right in the middle of that petal, and then I just sort of edge out my brush from side to side, and then use the tip of the brush to just go underneath the very edge of the petal to sort of lift it up so it has a nice little foldy shape in it, and it just gives the flowers a really lovely effect if they're sort of wavy, so they're not totally flat, if that makes sense. So yeah, just use the very tip of your brush to go underneath the very edge of those petals and just lift them up a little bit, and it just gives this nice little wave in the edge of the petals. So yeah, I'll just keep adding beads where I think they should go, and like I said, just go with the flow. I've never done these kind of flowers before. It just, yeah, I just thought, let my imagination and let my hands do what they want to do, and I just went with the flow. And it actually worked out. Now, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes I just start doing things and it looks awful. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, but on this occasion it actually worked out really. I was really happy with my 3D work. I'm not always happy with my 3D work. It's not I'm not great at 3D, but this little flower thing that I did, I was so pleased with it. What do you think? Let me know what you think. I really liked it. So yeah, I'm just going to keep patting those beads and whatnot, and I'll let you watch whilst I ramble on about something else. So how's everyone doing? I know different countries are doing different things with regards to the old Rona, but in England we are sort of trying to get back to normal. The mask police aren't as bad as they used to be. You don't exactly have to wear a mask anymore. Yeah, but it's nice to still have one in your handbag just in case, kind of thing. I don't know if relaxing the rules is a good idea or not, because the spread is still happening and it's all a bit confusing. I'm not sure what's best with regards to that, but I do hope you are all coping okay and staying safe, and getting help with your mental health if you need anything mental health wise. I do hope you are seeking help, because that's really, really important. We have to look after our minds so that the rest of us, you know, emotionally and physically can cope. If the mind can't cope, the body can't cope either. So do take care of your mental health and look after yourself as well. You can't just look after everyone else and not yourself. You're no good to anyone if you're in bits. So yeah, do take care of yourselves. So I'm almost finished with the 3D work. Just got this last little flower petal thingamajig that I'm doing on that last bead. And it will just be a very, very teeny, just using the very tip of my brush, tiny bead, get my brush to a point, remove all the liquid from my brush, and then sort of wiggle the tip into that middle of that little dot, and then pat that top of it so that it sort of folds over, and it just gives a really nice effect to the center of the flower. So yeah, that's the 3D work. Really sorry, yeah, camera blur. So I don't know why the camera decided it was not going to focus. It will come back into focus soon. I'm so sorry you're watching it blurry, but I didn't want to cut it out because you can still sort of see what I'm doing, and it will come back into focus in a sec. So added that other bead. Now I'm adding another one in the middle, doing the same thing the way I've been patting them out. Oh, come on camera, come back in focus. So annoying. I was so engrossed in what I was doing, I didn't look up and check, and then I looked up and saw that it was blurry, and I quickly tapped it to focus. And now we're back in focus, thank goodness. So I'll do the centre more. I've done the white more in the centre. I just thought it would accent it really nicely. And you see how I'm just folding the top of that inner circle over. It just gives a really nice effect to the flower, the centre of the flower. And I was looking at the nails and I thought it needed something else. It needed a bit of gold to tie it into the rest of the set, and that's when I dug out this gold gel paint and decided to just do some random swirls. Again, I was making it up as I went along. I didn't really plan what design I was going to do. I just got a little brush out, got the gel paint out, and just started drawing, and it is what it is. This is what I did. So even someone like me who cannot draw for the life of them, you can still just try. And you know what, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't look great, you can always wipe it off and start again, because it's not going to set in place until you place it into the lamp to set it. That's the beauty of using gel paints, really, is that it's not going to dry until you put it in the lamp, and you can remove it as many times as you like if you don't like what you've done. So just go for it. Don't be afraid to just try it. I actually didn't wipe any of this off. I left it as it was because I wasn't unhappy with it. I thought, no, I quite like this, I'm going to leave it. So yeah, it's not often that I do that. A lot of the time I'm like, don't like it, gonna have to do something else. But no, I just went with the flow. Now I'm just using the very tip of my brush to add a few dots. I just went with the flow. I'm trying to do a bit more drawing wise, because that's something else that if you don't practice you'll never get better at. So rather than just moaning that I can't draw, I'm really trying to up my game in that area, because yeah, it's not gonna happen if I don't put the work in. Like I said before with nails, it's all about practice. So if I'm gonna get better at drawing, it means I actually have to try and do it, and that's what I'm doing. So yeah, I will cure that in the lamp for 60 seconds, and because it was an afterthought, I'm now going to have to top coat over it. But I'm not going to top coat over my 3D work. I like my 3D work to stay matte. That's also personal preference. So I will just top coat all around it, but not over the 3D work, just to seal in that gel paint. Make sure that won't go anywhere. And once I'm happy with it, I will cure that in the lamp for 60 seconds. And then I will add some cuticle oil to replenish the skin. I know it's only Handolly, but she still needs a bit of loving as well. So I'll just use a brush with some cuticle oil to go around the nails and the fingers and the cuticles. Just replenish the skin. I know it's not real skin, but we're pretending she's real. We're giving her what we would to a normal person. And it does make the silicone look much better, I will say that. If you give her a wash and give her some cuticle oil, she looks so much nicer. Just treat her like a person. So this is the finished design. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Thank you ever so much for coming to my channel, watching this video, spending some of your most precious time with me. Thank you ever so much. I appreciate you. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. Join the Frosty Fam. I'd love to have you. If you've enjoyed this video, but in any way, shape or form, click that like button. And if you feel like it, you're more than welcome to leave me a comment. I'm happy to talk to you. So that is all I have for this time, peeps. You take care now, and I'll speak to you all again very, very soon. Bye for now.
Someday soon, I'm gonna make it.